What is up, everybody? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Tonight's Sunday Night Live. Strap in, strap up, strap it on. We're going hard Sunday night. What is today? November 16th. Sunday, November 16th. All right. So we're going to clean some stuff up here so we can all get on the same page. Have everybody out. This is the Idaho4 Sunday Night Live. Big live research. This is at least 37 hours, if not more, since Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a little bit into Thursday, that compiled all of this information. All right, where to begin? So we're going to go back over to Brian Kober's tickets that he got, his parking tickets. So you guys remember this picture? They put out all of his parking tickets. Awesome. So what I went and did is, this is everything to do, it's a flow chart on how it all works with the parking violations over there at WSU. And I wanted to double check and see who was working in the public safety and parking administration over there. And we have Rick Anderson. Then we have Jeanette Hurt. And then we got a couple other people. They got some basically students, and Robin Lockhart. You can just go on their website and see what we're working with. The only thing I cared about was seeing the two main people, which would be Rick Anderson, who is campus security officer, and the Jeanette woman, who is the director of public safety and parking services. Okay. Everybody else, come and go. Easy come, easy go. So then I want to go through and see what would cost Brian Kober $60 per ticket. All of his tickets were $60. So you have some options and only a couple options. So the reason this is important is you want to talk about if they're looking up white Elantras, you're totally going to come across this white Elantra that keeps on getting popped right in front of, I don't know, the Wilson Short building that he went into every day, or just about every day. So something that I think is interesting is that all these people that reported him being, weird, fucking crazy, sicko, whatever, all these names, which I don't dispute that they did and thought and all these things. He parked his car literally right in front of this building. Literally right in front of this building, because the parking tickets tell you where the location is of the ticket. And it wasn't just one ticket, guys. It was 7 tickets. 7. I was curious about how long. Usually colleges will put boots on your car. And here at this university, it's, if you have 3 unpaid, then they start putting a boot on your ticket, or a boot on your vehicle. I find it highly suspicious, and want to hopefully get this out to the parents. Highly suspicious that this vehicle, white Elantra, being parked out there and ticketed 7 times, okay, would not be on the radar of anybody in that area when they announced that they are looking for a white Honda Elantra. When they announced to the public. How about then internally? Okay, this would have been popping up, especially the dates of these tickets. They did not stop after the murders. Okay, they continued. So think about that. The options for your tickets are no parking permit, includes non-payment and pay lots, a no parking zone, no event permit, restricted parking area, and a shared permit. Those are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On that page, you can get a no parking permit. You can get again, no parking zone, and then the no event permit. And then it breaks it down. When you go onto the website, it breaks it down as to what these specifications are. So it'll tell you. And I said, you can just go on their website and get that. But I wanted to see what the $60 was. Every ticket was $60. And then if you didn't pay it within the 30 days, they tacked on another $30. And that's how it could potentially become 90. So there's that. So Brian's ticketing. And why is that important? That would have popped up as soon as they would have punched it in. So I'm doing a FOIA request to parking gentleman by the name of Rick Anderson and that woman's name tomorrow to WSU, as well as Pullman Police. But I'm putting in a FOIA concerning Rick Anderson's emails with anything. I mean, he would have been the one that would have been sent the stuff. Same with that woman, Janine, whatever she goes by, Jeanette, I think. If these campuses were, which they were hit early on by law enforcement to say, hey, can you check the database? This would have come right up. Okay. Next. So, okay, Ann Taylor and the prosecution put out a witness list. Okay. How it works is if the prosecution has a witness list, you don't, as from the defendant standpoint, you don't even have to put somebody that's already listed on their list, as long as you just say in your filing, like Ann did. She said, Mr. Culver reserves the right to call witnesses to impeach or rebut the government's case. Furthermore, Mr. Culver reserves the right to amend this list as witnesses become known, and to call as witnesses individuals who have been disclosed as potential witnesses by the state. So Ann does not have to list every single person. She's adopting the state's witness list. Very similar to the Karen Reed case. This is normal. So with that said, though, we've been questioning and asking ourselves who certain people are. So I was really interested in this whole Kai Davis person, okay, because I was interested in the names that were on Ann Taylor's list that were not on the prosecution's witness list, as well as I was interested in people that Richard Batanti was Ann Taylor's investigator. He was doing interviews with people. He did a couple of them. And that list is here. She had to turn this over in a supplemental. So the state asked her, hey, give us our discovery that we're asking, which is any information that you're basing your investigation off of. And so she did this, which is Exhibit E, and it was to defendant's fifth supplemental response to discovery under seal. And right here, I want you guys to see where it says Rich Batanti interview with Ava Wood. That means that it was just Rich Batanti, which is from the defense, and Ava Wood. Nobody else was present. Then it says these two people, and then it says right here, Kennedy Fitzgerald. I was very interested in Kennedy Fitzgerald. Why? Well, because Kennedy Fitzgerald was not in Maddie's sorority, and she wasn't in Kaylee's sorority. She was in a completely different sorority. And there was an interview done by the Idaho State Police. It was interview. Let me just check my little new. It was interview, I want to say. Okay. It was interview number 10, report 10. I used to say report 10. And it was, she is the last person, this doesn't give us a name, but this report, what did I say, 11? I'm sorry, report 10. It was done on 11/18, and it was out in Boise at her home. And it said she was the person that provided that she was with Xana until 2 a.m. At the Sigma Chi house, and that she thought that a pledge brother of Ethan's was going back to the house to 1122 King Road. And it was very interesting. All they did was get a screenshot of Xana's picture at 2 a.m. Because she posted on Snapchat. She got a screenshot of that. She saw that. But she also remembers seeing her at like about 1:45 when she was leaving, and they were going, what she said, I thought they were going straight home. They weren't going anywhere else. Okay. So, and I believe that potentially it could be this Kennedy Fitzgerald girl. Okay. Now, see this name, Robert Eller here? Robert Eller. The only Robert Eller I could come across was Robert Eller of Idaho Falls crashed his car in Nez Perce County Wednesday. A responding deputy then found a large quantity of methamphetamines. He's like 39 years old, I want to say. And I found an interview with a 39-year-old, by the way. And this man is Idaho man charged with trafficking methamphetamine into Nez Perce County. He wrecked his car, and then during the process of all that, found meth in his car. Allegedly, just now again, could this be some totally other Robert Eller? Absolutely, sure, totally could be. But right now, that's where my money's at, until I'm told otherwise. Okay. Next. Flavio and his live-in beautiful bride, they were the neighbors of Brian Kohlberger. Okay, they were on Ann's witness list. That's who they are. Something that you guys should pique your interest is that according to the neighbor and according to an interview that this neighbor did with Olivia, who is now going to be marrying Steve Gonsalves Jr., the neighbor said that she saw the cops going and like being at the apartment, and something to do with the Elantra. So I think that's I'm just touching and brushing up on Flavio right now and his live-in wife. Obviously, they're married. They should be living together. They were neighbors of Brian Kohlberger at Steptoe Apartments. Okay, so they interviewed with Olivia, and it was something really, really interesting that was said. And I'm just curious if Ann Taylor, got wind of that. Now, where to go next? All right. Okay. Also on Ann Taylor's witness list was none other than Martha Smith. Martha Smith was the sorority president. The sorority president, Martha Smith, wasn't on the state's witness list, but was on the defense's witness list, but not on the state's. So that's who Martha Smith is. Now we're going to get into some bombs. All right. Indian Hills Drive. Very important location, right? This is where video footage would be found. It's of 3 different locations on Indian Hills. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to first talk to you about how this all developed and why they even went that way. But first, I think I have a nice little map here. Okay. Okay, this is Indian Hills Drive. All right, so let's see. November 27th, out of the blue, what would look like out of the blue on paper. Detective Danny Vargas writes up a report, and she just writes up that on November 27th, 2022, she hits up a woman named CF, who she was going to see if she had a Nest Ring camera, if she still had it. She knew that she had it, and she wanted to know if she still had it. And if she still had it, could she just get this footage that would be on this Nest camera? It's like a Ring camera. And so in her report, she lists the person as CF. She calls the woman up. The woman says, "Let me get in touch with my husband, who's BB." And I'm like, damn, why isn't this? I was like, usually when a woman doesn't take the last name of her husband, it's because they're a prominent person with their last name. They're known like professionally with that name. And so you won't go and change your last name because everybody knows you as, something, and you're kind of important. So insert CF none other than Kristen with a C Finley. Well, I said, that name is not on the witness list. But guess who is on the witness list? Well, none other than, if you go to the B section, you're going to find a guy by the name of Brandon Briscoe. Brandon Briscoe. BB. Brandon Briscoe. This is the state's witness list. Brandon Briscoe is the husband of Kristen Finley. Well, why do you care, Lana? Who the fuck cares who Kristen Finley is? Well, I'm going to tell you why I think I should care about it. But the person, so Danny Vargas, out of the blue, this is totally not in the area of where, none of this is where their neighborhood canvassing. This is so far away from where they're going to be at. But Danny Vargas just gets a hair up her ass, and she's like, I'm going to call Kristen Finley and ask her, who is none other than the guardianship and conservatorship monitoring coordinators. She works for the Idaho Supreme Court, and I'm just going to call her up and see if I can get that Nest Ring camera. And sure as shit, Kristen Finley says, let me get you in touch with my husband. We got all that stuff, sure. And then voila, poof. There's this camera footage that's on that they use in the PCA, and they say, hey, there's this vehicle traveling on Indian Hills Drive at 3:25. And I'm like, dude, whoa. Okay, now back all the way up. That was on 11/27/2022, which everybody should be wondering, okay, why did they ever think that there would ever be anything on that street and at that time? Danny Vargas doesn't hit up anybody else that she knows that has a Ring camera, and then Bill Thompson doesn't put Kristen Finley down for being the witness. She's like, I'm going to use Brandon Briscoe, the husband. Okay. That's like a sly way of like, so. And then I was like, when I found out that there was not just one, but 3 cameras, boom, 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 right? I'm like, who do these other cameras belong to? Well, one of them right here. This is the house that actually sits down lower, and that you have like a weird driveway to get there, like this. So it kind of doesn't even look like there's a house right out here in front when you're actually like using Google Maps to like get down on there. And I'm like, when I found out like the cameras that they were using, I was like, who are these people? I was like, there's no way. We know that it did not start on 11/27 by Danny Vargas. She's leaving out all these steps, which when you actually do the work, you realize that, okay, Cole Brennenberg, okay, and Jack Showalter, and Jose Cruz. Those are your like first 3 suspects. And they were all suspects within literally people when they took on the case. And so first of all, what's his name? Cole lived with a bachelor, a dude, roommate, and then he lived with 2 other people, a man, a girl and a guy, and they were a couple. So there's 4 of them. And I don't know if you want to say they were in like a 3-bedroom, or they could have a 4, but the couple, the 2, like they're a couple, and then it's Cole and then this other guy. And I was able to go back through and hunt and search for, basically after Cole did his first interview, Cole told investigators that he did not have a vehicle. He had no car. and that how he got around is he walked everywhere. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's wild. Um, Now, when you have a job that's like, when you're working like off campus and stuff like that, like you're just going to rely on all these people. I was like, that's really wild. But okay, he doesn't have a car. Um, so immediately, investigators were like, okay, if he doesn't have a car, he could use somebody else's. He could be with a friend, yada, yada, yada. So they got to be retracing Cole's steps. So I went and located the interview that Cole's roommate, that's a dude, not the one with the couple. And I noticed in his interview, because Cole said that he found out about the murders on Monday when he got an email from his professor, because he shares a class with Maddie. And it was in that email on Monday is when he found out that Maddie was one of the victims. Now, when the police interviewed his bachelor roommate, he said that Cole told him on Sunday night, which would be a big discrepancy. That on Sunday night that he told them that one of the people was Maddie and that he knew one of them. So that should be on police's radars. Be like, okay, that seems. But this guy, that's the roommate, the bachelor. He said, yeah, we went out there and then I met up with some girl. I didn't see that he got kicked out of the bar or anything like that, but then I left and I got home. Like the interview is really strange, really choppy, and it's very minimal. And he's just talking about how this bachelor got home at about 1:24. And I'm like, 1:24, he must be looking at his phone. He must be looking at something, whether he took an Uber, something like that. But at 1:24, he got home and that he went into Cole's room, because this is what guys do all the time, I guess, and saw that he was just passed out on his bed. And he was surprised because he's normally the type that closes down. Like it was like an early night for him. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Well, then I wanted to hunt down, dude, these investigators would have had to have talked to this couple. Like, right? Like, come on. And that's where things get a little tricky. And I'm going to show you why. And we're going to kind of go in order. This is that interview of Cole's roommate saying that on November 13th, he got home around 1:24 and went to Blank's room and saw he was passed out. He was surprised to see him home so early because he normally shuts down the bar. Sunday evening, they talked about the incident, and he remembers that Cole mentioning that he had a marketing class with one of the girls. So again, if these people are accurate in their reporting when they're writing stuff down, this would be the opposite of what Cole told the police just a couple of days before that. I think where's the questions of like, how does Cole get to work? Does he have a car? Look at this very, very. And then I was like, okay, when was this wrote up? And this is report. You can go find it in this report 24 from the Idaho State Police supplementals. And this is all they wrote down. And as you can see, I was like, man, I was like, where did this interview take place? Well, this interview took place. Glad you guys just asked. This interview took place in Pullman, Washington. And I said, wow, isn't that something? Pullman, Washington. And this interview took place on November 17th. Like, wow, like that's, they talked to him on like the 16th. And they're talking to a homeboy right here on, I'm going to print off for us really quick, on the 17th. So I noticed, though, that this took place in Pullman, not at, a Moscow, police department, or not the residence in Moscow, but in Pullman. And then I noticed something else. And now this is where this is either going to, I looked at it as like, to me, if it was at the Pullman Police Department, you would say that, and then you could have just erased the. So here's the beginning of number 24, and as you can see, it says on November 17th. Okay. Right here it says the interview was in reference to, and then it says the interview took place at, see how it's blank, like 1, 2, 3 blanks in Pullman, Washington. Well, you know, I'm going to speculate here, and I have no problem saying that I'm speculating. Okay, no problem whatsoever. But now, Michael Sotolongo is on the witness list. Okay. He works at SEL, which is located in Pullman, Washington. And SEL is for Swetzer Engineering Laboratories. 3, SEL. See that? Michael Sotolongo is married to Charlotte Lockard. Both Michael Sotolongo and Charlotte, or I should say, I can't say the word married. I mean, they live together. I believe that they're married. But again, Sotolongo and Charlotte here on the witness list. Okay, on the witness list. Michael is friends with, really good friends with Sheldon Kernodle, who is very, very close family with Xana. In fact, they've been really big advocates and for the family, like for everything with Xana. Obviously, all of them, but and which has been awesome. They've been raising money for the GoFundMe's. They bring awareness. So they bought a house or in August, and they became neighbors. They became neighbors to Briscoe and the what's her name? CF. Okay. So the 3 people, those 3 houses on Indian Hills, Michael Sotolongo and Charlotte. Oh, I don't want to mess up her last name. It's Hadlock. I want to say it right. Charlotte Hadlock. Okay. Charlotte Hadlock. And Michael Sotolongo live here, which is part of the discovery. Like, hey, they have their surveillance cameras that was being used. They're on the witness list. It's all public knowledge. But what was not public knowledge was the fact that, oh my God, SEL. I was like, shut the I was losing my shit when I saw this because I said, oh, hell no. I said, oh my God, this is going to get wild because I've been waiting to prove this. Now, back up though. Michael and home girl, Charlotte, they owned a house in Pullman, Washington, and they still own the house in Pullman, Washington. And I think they rent it out. And it's right by where Steptoe Apartments is. Okay. Steptoe Apartments is right by where what's their names? I just want to pull this up really quick. Michael Sotolongo and Charlotte still own the house that's in Pullman, right by where Septo is. Then I was like, okay, in order to corroborate all of this stuff, these investigators would have had to have tracked down the couple in that house. Otherwise, you're not. These aren't alibis. You know what I mean? Like you want to get all these people on the hook. Okay. So basically, what I'm trying to get out here is that Danny Vargas and the police department left out a very, very important part of this whole narrative, which is how would you ever come across that video? And isn't it because you had these prior suspects? Okay. These prior suspects. And you were looking for who could possibly be driving Cole. Okay. And potentially you're trying to track down where Ethan and Xana were because you realize that, oh my God, we don't have them really accounted for. This isn't adding up. So we have to relaunch and we're asking everybody, where is Ethan and Xana from X time to X time? And I know that it wasn't from 9 to 1 because they're accounted for. Like they were accounted for. So when would we really be trying to account for them? Well, up and until 4 o'clock after 12:45. Okay. So now I'm gonna have to follow along here. Now, SEL, why would this be important? It's all how you meet people. You meet people through work. All right. So I was determined to find, well, let's just show you guys this. Remember the guy with the green Elantra? Well, his name was Noah Rice. Okay. And I told you guys back in the day, Noah Rice worked for SEL. Did you guys know that? The guy with the green Elantra? Can't make this shit up. Okay. Now, Michael Sotolongo, big fan of Mingles. This is his Facebook page. So Michael Sotolongo, when you're like writing stuff down, but on he likes Mingles. And I was like, wow, okay. Then I came across report. I want to say it's 88. This is 37 hours of research, by the way. Okay, let's go down to. I want to say it's 88. But first, hang tight. Okay. Okay. On the witness list was one of the girls that lived in the house the previous year. Her name is Whitehead. Okay. Where is it? Her name is Whitehead. And I noticed that she was interviewed really early on by the Idaho State Police. And her interview with the Idaho State Police was like, whoa, wow, like just mind-blowing. And I think everybody missed this. And it was hard at first because we have to play guessing games on who any of these people are that are being interviewed. Well, report 15. If you go to report 15, Idaho State Police, you're going to see that this is the girl that was interviewed. And this has to do with I'm going to make it big. Okay. I asked Whitehead if Mortensen had mentioned what she thought happened. It was game day, so everyone had been drinking. Mortensen told her she wasn't sure when Xana and Chapin got home. Xana was with Blank, and they were home before Mogan and Kaylee got back. Oh my God. Oh my God. What? Yes, they are. We're going to be getting into that. I said, what? Wait, what? Now, what? Again, Xana was with Redacted, and they were home before Mogan and Kaylee got back. This person told her she went upstairs and ate grub truck with Mogan and Kaylee. She went back downstairs to go to bed. I asked Blank if Blank mentioned seeing anybody else in the house. She's asking Whitehead if Mortensen said anything. If when Kaylee and them came back, and she said no. It sounded like it was just the three of them eating grub truck. Next, Blank told Blank she woke up around 4 a.m. to music playing. She'd hoped Kaylee would turn it off soon. Mortensen had said she could hear Kaylee and her dog, Murphy, playing upstairs. Shortly after that, Mortensen told Whitehead the music turned off and heard Kaylee say, "I think someone is here." Mortensen told Whitehead she heard someone run upstairs and run back downstairs. Mortensen said she peeked out of her room and she did not see anything, but could vaguely hear someone in the bathroom. She called Hunter and Emily, told them to come down to her, I'm sorry. She called Bethany and Bethany told her to come down to her room. After a few minutes, Mortensen told her she opened her bedroom door and saw a person standing out there and they made eye contact. Mortensen said he then walked out the sliding glass door. Now, the only part I want to take from this is the part where she's saying that, or in this game of, again, this is the game of, you could say it's the game of telephone, is this whole thing about Xana and Ethan being back before Kaylee and Maddie. Okay, like where's that coming from? Someone's trying to make it seem like that they're home, right? The person that is saying this is Whitehead, Sophia Whitehead. Sophia Whitehead was living in the house the year before, was a Pi Phi, and actually had the room that Kaylee had upstairs. She was supposed to come back. It's either her, she was supposed to come back, and she decided not to in the summer, and she was just going to do some stuff, I think, online. And Kaylee had called her up and said, "Hey, can I take your room then?" And so Kaylee was originally in the room that Xana was in. Okay. And then so Kaylee then moves. So during the summertime, she was in the room that was Xana's. And then she moved her stuff upstairs when Whitehead said she was not coming back. Okay. Okay. Now, that interview, what I thought was interesting about any of this was I said, why was Whitehead interviewed so early on? She wasn't there. That was on November 18th. That's pretty early on, right? I'm like, they should be getting on that couple that we need to talk to, right? Well, then it's when you just realize that, wait, some people just didn't write their reports within just days of what they did. So Whitehead was on the lease. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember when, I can't remember if it was Dylan or Bethany. They were talking about, hey, whose mail was in that room? And everybody immediately thought it was like Ashton Couch's mail. Well, I think there's a chance that it was Whitehead's mail, actually. Okay. Because back in the day, I ran PDFs on some of these houses to see who actually ever collected mail there. And there was only one person, and it was not Ashton Couch. Usually at college, you just would use your parents' address still. It's until you start using your wherever you're living's address that could ever like register on like any type of searches. So, anyways, moral of the story is welcome Sophia Whitehead. We got lots to talk about one day. Next, again, I'm on my hunt for Cole's roommates. We got the one guy. Okay. Now we got to find this other guy or this other couple. And I'd be reading along. Well, first of all, let me back up one step. On paper, where it said that Cole lived was right by where 1125 Ridge Road is. Okay. So the camera that came from Ridge Road, 1125 Ridge Road, that is literally right where the apartment complex is that that Cole had as one of his addresses. 325 Lauder Ave. Okay. Lauder and Ridge are right there. It's in that apartment complex. There was another person that was living there in that apartment complex that I was looking into because he played football. And because during one of the interviews, somebody had mentioned that they had a football player living with them at one point. And I just came across this football player. We're going to get to him, but his name's Luke. We're going to get to him. But I had to find this couple. Okay. Fast forward for just a second. Now, I was really interested as to why, after they have the name Brian Kober and they know, like, that he has his apartment where it's located, and I said, why were they interested? Okay, on December 28th, 2022, Idaho State Police, they were interested in conducting surveillance on 2 storage unit facilities. Okay, within the city limits of Colfax in Whitman County. And I was like, why? Think about it at that time. Now it says right here the facilities were and then associated with blank in Colfax. The office is at blank blank and blank blank located at blank. Surveillance went into the morning of December 29 until I was able to contact and interview the manager of both facilities. Okay. It said now that both managers provided me the names and contact information of all people renting storage units at their respective facilities. Okay. And Brian Culver at the time was not one of the people when it will go on to say that. Okay. But what had drawn them to this in the first place, right? So then I keep going back, and here it is. Okay. Whew. We're gonna get. This is where you're just gonna be like, what the fuck? All right. At some point, Idaho State or Moscow Police Department allegedly, supposedly, this is what Idaho State is saying, and this is coming from Leslie Lehman. But on 11/18, why this is important? And she's acting like first of all, she's fucking this up. She did not write this report on 11/18. She actually wrote the report on February 6, 2023. But she did do the action on November 18th, 2022. Why is this important to me? Because this would be right along the timeline. If you just talk to Cole, then you talk to the one dude, the bachelor guy. And I'm over here like hunting down for anything that happened on November 18th, 19th. Like, come on, they have to talk to this fucking couple. Okay? Well, here we go. This is just what I can tell you I found. Again, with all the heavy redactions, there's always, I'm speculating on some stuff, but you can be the judge of whatever else. Now, this person, their driver's license, obviously it's all redacted except for the fact that it's out of Washington, which matters to me. And that they're 26 years old matters to me because that's how old, Cole's a couple years older than that. All right. But this is an older person. And this says that on November 18th, 2022, Idaho State Police, Leslie Lehman, along with Idaho State Police Jacob Schwecke, interviewed this person, date of birth 1996. At his apartment at blank, Moscow, Idaho. It says at his apartment. And I'm like, okay. Blank, that's his last name, was identified by Moscow Police Department, MPD officers, as a suspect in a blank 2022 incident in which he verbally threatened female University of Idaho students on a sidewalk. And what we've concluded is that we believe this is a month and then a date. Like, so if it was like September 5th, 2022, but it's a month and then a date. Okay. It goes further to say that this person says, so this last name, said he was at work at blank until about 11:30 on 11/12/2022. Blank met his girlfriend, blank blank, at John's Alley Bar. Blank, meaning the person they're talking to, last name, was unsure of times in the early morning hours after leaving the bar, but confirmed a Moscow Police Department officer gave blank, okay, and him. This is the last name of his girlfriend. His last name is that long. That is his girlfriend. But then look over here. Met up with his girlfriend. See this look here? I'm wondering if they're also crossing off like the date of birth or something like that. But this last name, see, for the girl, something else has to be right there. Anyways, but confirmed a Moscow Police Department officer gave this dude and his girlfriend a ride to blank's apartment due to her amount of intoxication. Blank walked home from blank apartment and remained in his apartment, waking at 1 or 2 in the afternoon on November 13th, 2022. Blank said blank was in the apartment with him and was still there sleeping when blank left in the afternoon hours on November 13th, 2022. Now, ready for this part. I said, hold on. What the fuck's going on here? I said, first of all, this can't be the couple. Okay. I was like thinking that this could potentially be the couple, right? The only reason I can say that it's not is because according to Cole and The Bachelor, they live with the guy and the girl who are couples. It's not like just, oh, this guy lives here, and like the way that I'm understanding it is that the guy and the girl live together. But could it be something else? But the part that blew and everybody's mind should be absolutely blown, absolutely ridiculously blown, is this part. But he confirmed a Moscow Police Department officer gave him a ride home on 11. Like this is the night of the murders. Okay. Well, who is this? And where did they give you a ride to? If you're going to sit here and tell me now, I want you guys to think about this. Think about this for a second. We have heard no report from anybody, not a single one, not an officer, nothing. This guy is being interviewed in connection with this murder. And clearly they wanted to know wherever he walked back to and who was still there when he, woke up and so-and-so was still there. You don't think that an officer's like, oh my God, I gave that guy a ride home? Like, this is who I gave a ride. Who gave this dude and his girlfriend a ride home? And from where? From where? From John's Alley? This guy was unsure of times in the early morning hours after leaving the bar, but confirmed a Moscow Police Department officer gave blank and him a ride to blank's apartment due to her amount of intoxication. What? Dude, there is no report of any officer giving anybody a ride home. So I'm putting in a FOIA for this. I want to know what officer gave this dude who was on the radar, allegedly, supposedly, because read this. On November 18, 2022, Idaho State Police Detective Leslie Lehman, along with Idaho State Police Detective Jacob Schwecke, interviewed this person at his apartment in Moscow. Blank was identified by Moscow Police Department officers as a suspect in this is an unrelated thing, but just happened, in my opinion, in September. Maybe even October, but in an incident where he verbally threatened female. Well, how about this? Where is there any questions about that? About him threatening? Like, what type of report is this? What type of report is this? Blank did not know the victims and did not spend time with the college students. Wouldn't you say, weren't you just so there's so much more to this. So much more to this. Like, ridiculously. I want to know what cop was driving people home. I want to know if that cop was on the clock. I want to know if that cop he's confirming that he got a ride from the Moscow Police Department officer. You guys, who? Was it Jacob Tisdall and Rosie? Because I don't think it was. So an undercover, the plain clothes. This is wild. Okay, next. Now, so this is going to be all cleared up for us really soon, because this is absolutely crazy that go through all these reports and we have cops are giving people a ride home. Again, it was Moscow Police Department officer. Olson does not work for the Moscow Police Department. Now, do you guys remember back in the day, I went out and got the Moose Lodge dash cam and body cam. This was back before there was ever even a suspect. Then I put it out on my channel, and there was a party at the Moose Lodge that night. The Moose Lodge, where there was a dart. There was darts going on. There was a tournament, a dart tournament or something like that. Okay, so shit you not. Guess where Cole was with his roommate before going out to like mingles and going out to Corner Club? And well, Cole and his roommate were at the Moose. The Moose were that big, like that big old deal, you know. And remember, somebody was like, "Oh, this person just goes around and they give us this is his real, like he goes by this, but I think his real name is this," and blah blah blah, all crazy type shit, right? Yeah. So Cole manages to, I don't know, be over there at the Moose. There's an incident there, problems. Let's go to oh, here. Okay. Moving on to another part of our web of shit. All right. Here we go. This was on December 19th is when somebody that was a police officer back in the day, or he was retired. Okay. He's 56 years old. He thought it was really important for him to go to the police department. Okay. And on December 19th, 2022, the Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Travis Shirley and I, Joe Lake, conducted a walk-in interview at Moscow Police Department with this person. The following is just a summary of the interview. Listen to the audio for full details. That's when you know that you really need to get it, because they're leaving out so many big chunks. So this guy drives a blank and begins his workday during the late hours of the night. While heading to work during the week of November 21st, 2022, he witnessed a person loading a white four-door vehicle with personal effects near the intersection of Walenta and Lauder in Moscow, Idaho. This is exactly where Ridge Road is. The intersection of Walenta and Lauder is Ridge Road. That is 1125 Ridge Road. That's exactly where it's at. Now, I said, you got to be fucking kidding me, right? This is kind of like a big deal. And they've already went and obtained the footage to get the November 13th footage, right? So after this law enforcement guy comes forward because of the be on the lookout, he's giving, like, this is really descriptive. He's saying it was approximately 11:30 p.m. Blank is a former police officer. He had seen the news about an investigation, interest in a white vehicle, and thought he would provide the information to law enforcement. He described the male loading the car as being 5'8" to 6'1". Lean build, blonde hair, and clean cut. Well, by God. That literally describes, somebody that you may want to get the fuck over there and get the surveillance camera for to see who this person is. I mean, this literally is right where the white Elantra, where you took the video of the white Elantra. Okay. Okay. You guys, I don't know if you guys have heard it yet. We're going to hear it tomorrow. But Eric Grower does an interview. And after listening to the audio interview, it's already pumped up more of what I'm about to tell you guys here. Eric Grower says that he, after taking Kaylee and Maddie, that he did not recall returning back anywhere over that area. And he never says that, Dylan texted him. Like, how do you fucking, miss that? But more importantly, I'm going to show you guys proof that the police were not believing Dylan. They weren't like all in on their stories. Well, Lana, how can you say that? Well, I'm going to show you. First of all, I have to show you these backyards. Okay. She's on the witness list. On the right, her name's Bianca Perez. This backyard is taken if you are at the house that butts up to Kaylee and Maddie's at the 112. Like, they share the backyard. It's right across from Jack D's house. Okay. Riley Moreland to the right on the witness list. Bailey Dempsey on the left was on Ann Taylor's witness list. Riley on the right is on the states. So is Bianca Perez. On the left, again, these are all sorority sisters of Kaylee. And this is the house that's directly across from like where Jack D's kind of house is over there. It's right across where I know I have some body cam where people are like running and going around the house. This is where Schneider goes over and is taking pictures. You guys remember Schneider taking pictures? He goes like right up over there. Hey, can we take pictures? Okay. All right. So here, this is just a portion of it, but I'm going to break it down for you. Right here, this girl, she says that I even had the same Lyft driver as Kaylee and Maddie. Well, I said to myself, how do you know who Katie and how would you know that? If you didn't talk to them after they like got home, whatever. Well, she must have talked to Eric, right? Eric Grower. But she says, so I want to show you guys how this all played out. I asked this girl if she was around the victims in the night of the homicide. She was with her friends, blank and blank, and began their night at John's Alley. Blank took a phone call from Kaylee to come down to the corner club. Blank and her friends went to the club. Blank friends slowly left from there and went back to her house. Kaylee and Mogan were still at the club with Blank. Kaylee and Blank were planning on going to John's Alley to continue the evening. Blank was talking to other friends and noticed that they left. Blank went to the grub truck. She is in no set location, and she believes she was about a half hour behind Kaylee and Maddie at that truck. Okay. Blank even had the same Lyft driver as Kaylee and Maddie going home. Fast forward, this person would set up a couple paragraphs on the other page that where does she live? She's like, my chain link fence butts up to Kaylee and Maddie's. So she's She's at that house that I've been telling you guys about, okay? And she says that she shared the same Uber driver. Well, bring in lab reports. This was analyzed between 11:20 and 11:28. And this person was interviewed on 11:18. And on 11:19, they went back into the house. And you guys remember I said back in the day, I said, why is Talbot not writing anything down for what happened on 11:19? It's like very odd. Well, come to find out, 11:18 and 11:19 were very interesting days. For starters, did you guys know? I just learned this. Did you guys know that they went and obtained an additional search warrant on 11:19 to get into the room of Dylan Mortensen? I never knew that they had to go and obtain a search warrant for this. But on 11:19, they obtained a search warrant to get into Dylan Mortensen's room. They went in there and they took things. They took pictures, and this is the day of like taking the pictures of like the bushy eyebrows. Okay, but it's also the day that they found the none other than, here we go. This is how we find out about it. Okay, so right here, L3 is a possible fabric impression, and L4 is a possible shoe impression. Not analyzed, though. They did not analyze this, okay? Report 11. Right here. Layton's L3 through L6 were collected via photography from the following. The second floor, west bedroom floor, is L3. The second floor, east bedroom, thrush L4. So I said L4, 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 right? L4, L4. And then they just decide we're not gonna do anything with it, right? We're not gonna do anything with it. Well, ready? Now let's talk. Now let's talk about Eric over here. 2011 Toyota Prius. Fits into that 2011, 2013, right? And it did put in a FOIA for all 7 charts for these cars that they were saying were involved or could be involved. Now, 2011 Toyota Prius. On 11/18/2022 at approximately 7:34 p.m., this person, Hogan, and this person arrived at blank to process a vehicle. They were accompanied by Detective Tolson. He is so good at his job, guys. Just kidding. Detective Lehman, and the owner of the vehicle were also present upon their arrival. The vehicle is a 2011 gray colored Toyota Prius, license plate number blank, VIN blank. The vehicle was located in a large vehicle bay. Hogan photographed the vehicle for overall location, identification, and condition. Now, I said to myself, why in the world would they ever, okay? What's up? What? They're going to go take a picture of his vehicle, right? Take a picture of his vehicle. But they don't do what? Well, they don't do anything. They photograph the vehicle for overall location, identification, and condition. You know what that means they're trying to do? They want to compare it to the vehicles that they have that are on camera. Hogan, they searched the vehicle, but they're saying that there was no significant findings. What? What's significant? What are you talking about? I have no idea. I guess, hey, they just think, yeah, nothing noticed. They cleared the scene at approximately, and I said, I said, where is Detective Tolson's report on this? On him going there? I said, would you believe it? But it's the same day on 11/18. Okay. Where's this at? On 11/18, guess where else they went? They went to Jack DeCour's apartment. Okay. And I have it that they went and searched this vehicle for this Prius in Washington, in Pullman. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, Pullman? Yeah, we'll talk about this right here. Oh, there it is. No. Okay. We're going to come back here and just... Oh, yeah, here we go. Sorry. Here it is. So right here, November 19th, they conducted a search as part of a lawfully obtained search warrant for 1122 King Road. And what were they interested in? Well, they were interested in, this is on the 19th. So here, on the 18th, ready? On the 18th, they're going over to Eric Grower's house, and they want to take photographs of his vehicle. They also looking at his vehicle. He interviews with the MPD on the 14th, but he also interviews later on. He'll interview with Idaho State Police. Now, based off of his MPD interview, I don't know if he just totally forgot that Dylan Mortensen, I don't know, texted him. I don't know if he totally forgot that he took not just one person over there to King behind them, but he took two. Okay. And like not just one person over there, but two people. And that he also took somebody back from like one of the frats houses to an area. I don't know how he just could possibly forget this. I mean, it's in his phone. He also says that people pay him for these rides. These people didn't pay. And so here on November 19th, they're specific. Like this is, hey, we want and are going into, and we want to be in Dylan Mortensen's room. And so here it is. I had to go digging around for report 88. And on November 19th at approximately 2:30, I searched Blank's bedroom. Blank's bedroom is the bedroom located within the residence during the time of quadruple murder. Blank reported she witnessed the murder suspect, later identified as Brian Koberger. So this just should tell you right here how long they waited to write this motherfucking thing up. Okay, this was wrote up, you guys, in January. She witnessed later suspect as close proximity while she stood at her bedroom doorway. ISP forensic scientist had identified a bloody shoe print outside of Blank's bedroom, believed to belong to Kohlberger. Again, it should be saying suspect, but it says Kohlberger because this was not written up until January. Now, from that sentence, there is nothing that says anything about. Now, remember, I'm going to have you use your memory here. Dylan Mortensen did not have shoes on when she was at the house outside being interviewed on 11/13. She was barefoot, no shoes on. Okay. So ISP forensic scientists had identified a bloody shoe print outside of it doesn't say how it was identified. So shitty of a job writing this up. Upon entering Blank's room, I photographed the bedroom with an emphasis upon her wall hangings and artwork. While conducting a search of her bedroom, the following items were noted and seized. Now, this would have been just 2 days after her interview with Detective Gooch. She interviews with Blaker and Gooch on November 17th. They go into her room and want to try to find stuff. I have no idea how they missed a blanket with blood on it, but here, what you would normally see, and I want everybody to see this, why have we not had anybody anywhere in any report talk about this shoe print size? Where is there a picture of it? Why haven't we not seen this van shoe print? Why can't we see the size? Why can't we see anything? Why wouldn't it not be noted? How do you write up a report and leave something like this out if you're going to write up a report? Same thing with the lab reports. You can go look at those lab reports. That's what L4 is. L4 is a joke. This is so bad. This is so bad. Now, it said that upon entering the bedroom, I photographed the bedroom with an emphasis, the hangings, blah, blah, blah. The bedroom had a low amount of alcohol compared to other first and second level rooms within the residence. There was a variety of personal items, notebooks and textbooks consistent with the college student. Artwork of blank with an emphasis upon the blank. Why would that have to be redacted? The emphasis of eyebrows. Okay. Ridiculous. We're pinned to the corkboard along with blank for magazines. A letter from blank sorority. Later to be blank was in a clear plastic shoebox within the bedroom closet. What was that? Blank blank. Later confirmed to be blank was in a clear plastic shoebox. Was in a clear plastic shoebox? I've never heard of a clear plastic shoebox in my life. Do you mean within a clear plastic baggie in a shoebox? Because now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere with the plastic baggie that had the blue stuff that was tested. Do you guys remember that? I made a big deal about that. The stuff that was in Xana's room, I saw that picture, and I remember seeing that picture, and it was just the powder. Okay. Well, here, I've never heard in my life of again, I'll repeat it for you guys. Look at this description. Right here. It says, a letter from blank sorority, blank, which is later confirmed to be blank, was in a clear plastic shoebox within the bedroom closet. I mean, they really, really, they tell you in the police academy, they tell you when you go to post training that your reports are so important. Yeah, really, really important. This is such garbage. What is a clear plastic shoebox? I've never heard of that. Can you tell me where you've ever seen a clear plastic shoebox? No, I think what they mean is that inside a shoebox, there was a clear baggie with shit. Okay. So then I thought it was interesting when I saw in another interview when somebody asked about the drug use, and it was just that Mogan, Xana, and Ethan or Kaylee, they weren't into drugs. is what it said. And I was like, well, what about everybody? Anyways, take it for what you want. Now, Hunter Johnson. Again, I told you guys I was going to cover 10 things. So I don't know what number we're on here, but here's Hunter Johnson's roommate. I have some questions. I was able to hunt down and find it is report 98. And I could be wrong. Let me just erase this. Hunter Johnson's roommate is all I can tell you is who this is. Ready? On December 7th, Idaho State Police Detective Leslie Lehman, along with Detective Tim Snell, interviewed Blank in continuation of the homicide investigation in Moscow, Idaho. Blank's name was reported via the TIP program as a person who knew Ethan and was described as odd. Like, what an oddball. Now, 2003, that's his date of birth year. So, I mean, he's 19. That's Ethan's age, okay? Now, I was like, okay, this seems a little weird, but here we go. This interview, I called Blank, who agreed to come to the Idaho State Police 1 office in Coeur d'Alene to be interviewed. I began the interview. This person said that he was no longer attending the University of Idaho as he was preparing to leave North Idaho to join the Navy. Okay. Blank confirmed his current address at Blank, Rathdrum, Idaho. Blank was roommates and Blank with Blank, who was Blank reporting the unresponsive person at 1122 King Road on November 13th. Now, you can tell me if you see it any other way than this person was roommates and Blank with who? Who reported it? I mean, that's got to be Hunter Johnson, no? So, Blank was roommates and Blank with what? Like, horrible writing again. Just leave it to the Idaho State Police Department. They're bad at writing. They're just bad. The only thing that I have that's plastic and clear is display for like shoes. I saw somebody talk about I have plastic shoe boxes. I think you're referring to displays, but we have like Jordans in displays. So I don't know. But anyways, Blank said that he spent a great deal of time at the apartment at 1122. Blah, blah, blah. Blank said Hunter, and Blank's girlfriend, Emily, are close friends with victims Vanna and Ethan. Blank said there are many members of the U of I Greek community who spend time at 1122. Again, I don't know how they continue to keep calling it street. Clearly, they're not there that often to write a report. Anyways, let's get all the way down to here, which is this part. Number 8. So his dad brought him back that morning on November 12th. Blank said that he was staying in Rathdrum with his father so he could purchase a new phone. Blank went back to Moscow on November 13th, driven by his father. He arrived at his apartment at 8 in the morning. The early drive to Moscow was not unusual for his father due to his work schedule. Blank and his father bought groceries and Blank was dropped off. Blank spent the morning catching up with Blank's boyfriend, Blank and Blank. The group was saying goodbye to Blank, who was leaving at 11 to transfer to Boise for graduate school. This person who's being interviewed said he was hanging out on the couch when Hunter said he was going to go check on Dylan and Bethany at their apartment. Right here. If you see this any other way, let me know in the comment section of the video. Number 8 here is, this is the person that's being interviewed. Blank said he was hanging out on the couch when Hunter said he was going to go check on Blank and Blank at their apartment 1122 King Road. The person being interviewed said that Blank, I'm guessing Hunter's girlfriend, Blank, went with him to 1122 King Street apartment. See how it says he said that happened like after the fact? Blank lived, blank, 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 did not know why blank was going to check on blank and was not told who asked blank to go to the apartment. Shortly after blank left, the police activity in the area began. Now, the way I see this is that this person was on a couch where Hunter Johnson was physically located. If you see it any other way, again, please let me know in the comments of the video. How I read this is that this person being interviewed, blank said he was hanging out on the couch when Hunter said he was going to go check on blank and one. So think about this. Why I also believe like this is such logic is why would Bethany and Dylan, whoever did it, call to ask, hey, can you come over here? Then Hunter decides, I'm going to call this person and let them know that I'm going over there to go check on. You know what I mean? Again, we're going to have to wait till we hear the actual physical recording because they don't know how to write reports. But how I see this is this could potentially be a problem on where Hunter was located. Because I thought that they were all at Emily's apartment with Emily, Josie, Lyndon, Beck. So more to come on that. Next. All right. Here we go. This is one of the big ones. Big bomb here. Myself and Bella spent probably like 8 hours just on this part. All right. This is a report written, allegedly, supposedly. The report's written on a year after the murders. Okay? On October 29th, 2024, you guys have seen this before. Darren Gilbertson, because Ann Taylor was like, hey, whatever happened with this tip, which was, it had something to do with basically a CI. A CI, it had, with the FBI, had somehow made contacts or reached out to somebody because, hey, come talk to me because I have information. And basically the information is that he said that the house where the murders took place was a location where he provided security to individuals who delivered unknown items to the house. You guys remember this? Okay, great. All right. Well, again, they don't write reports well. And this whole time, what we've been doing is we've been looking at this report like when this guy gave his story, he gave his original story to an FBI agent. So this FBI agent should have a report of it, but Ann Taylor had this FBI agent on her list. But this was the way that this was wrote. We don't know if it was said this way, but the way that it was wrote is that something happened about a month prior, okay, to the murders. And it actually makes no sense as to why somebody would call and say anything and give this type of a story. But nonetheless, I was determined to figure out why a name NM, their autopsy, was part of this case. What I mean by that is it was entered into evidence back on right here. It was entered into evidence on January 5th, 2023. Nobody that is dead had the names and the initials NM. Okay. So it was entered in on 1/5/2023, item number 4, 31, NM autopsy photos. Okay. Well, we've made some headway. We've made some headway. Oh, there we go. There we go. The story, though. So, back, he said, on one of their trips, he said that they were leaving Lewiston and heading for Moscow when a car crash happened in front of them. He stated the driver was ejected through the front windshield but survived. He stated he stopped at the crash and waited for police to arrive, spoke to them briefly, and then continued on to Moscow. Okay. And basically, the police are like, we're not gonna, like, this dude's a liar. This guy's a liar. I looked this stuff up. We can't find anything. Blah blah blah. Well, I said, you know what? I think the story might be a little bit different because I don't trust the way they write reports. So I know that people are saying in chat that, yep, Shelly, it's so and so. Well, guess what? We're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about, though, how the dates have nothing to do with what they wrote in this report, and that there's something to actually look at instead, which is the fact that Gary Tolson, again, just a phenomenal human being and just an even greater detective, said no one ever. Him and Leslie Lehman were tasked, and again, why are you giving these people these jobs? They were tasked with, and same with Mike Van Leuven. And Mike Van Leuven, again, Idaho State Police, is the same people that did the Drake case, just such phenomenal detectives. They start calling around and asking if anybody has come in with like stab wounds, things of that nature. And Van Leuven's just blown away when he sees that nobody in any of these areas, except for in Kootenai County, there was like 77, but everywhere else, nobody else. Okay. So long story short, I wanted to go and look at what was going on in Lewiston around the time of the murders. And I came across, so I went to the 911 incident reporting. Okay. And here's a couple of them for you. Male yelling at female in a vehicle. Male has been asked to leave and has not. White male, shaved head, silver jacket, 5'5", blue shirt, jeans, something in his hand that looks like a knife. Reporting party no longer sees him, thinks he walked away. Okay. Next. Vehicle looks like it blew its radiator, has a bucket under it, has been there about a week. It's all going to come full circle here in a minute. Let me just read these. Next, 400 Burrell Avenue. Parking lot at the baseball field. Black Mercedes. Looks like it's been in an accident. Bing, 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 bing. Okay. I was like, oh, I'm interested in this black Mercedes. I'm interested in this black Mercedes here. Who would just leave a black Mercedes chilling in a parking lot at a baseball field? Looks like it's been in an accident. Okay. Well, so Gary Tolson, who wrote this up? Yeah, good old Gare. Okay, this is on November 21st. Okay. And Gary says that on Monday, November, this is the part that everybody, fuck the name. The name doesn't matter right now. The name doesn't matter. You're missing the big part of the information. Okay. Monday, 21st, 2022. Somebody that works at the hospital is how this all got started. Somebody that works at the hospital saw something and was like, this is not consistent with a car accident. And let me read you what's going on. On Monday, November 21st, 2022, the FBI received an anonymous call about an unnamed person being brought into the blank in Lewiston, then being flown to Spokane to blank, blank, blank. The caller told the agent that this person was supposed to have been involved in an auto accident, but the injuries were not consistent with injuries sustained in an automobile collision. Unfortunately, the caller would not give the agent the name of the person they were calling about. Now, okay. Idaho State Police Detective Jake Schwecke contacted the Lake Tahoe County Sheriff's Office, Nez Perce Sheriff's Office, and the Lewiston Police Department. No collision was reported, but a vehicle registered to a blank blank that year was found abandoned in a field, and later blank was found partially clothed and injured wandering in the streets of Lewiston. This was on November 15th. So what I did is I went to like I was just reading for you guys, and then I find reopened call, suspicious person circumstance. See comments below suspicious man behind the library in the parking lot wearing black t-shirt, headed west, standing near red car, waving hands around, walking aimlessly. Okay. I said, I think this is it. Got a FOIA in on that. There you go. Okay. Then blank was transported to the blank and later life flighted to the blank in Spokane. Detective Sergeant Michael Van Leuven contacted the blank and found out that blank had subsequently died while he was in the hospital. Mike Van Leuven. Woo! He put him on something. He's like, oh my God, the guy just died on me. He just couldn't believe it. Oh my God, he's dead. Okay. So Mike Van Leuven's just fucking beside himself. Like, whoa, he's just dead, right? Gary Tolson's like, I contacted the Spokane Medical Examiner's Office in Spokane, Washington. I spoke with Deputy Medical Investigator Ricardo, whatever, Rosida, whatever. He advised me that they did in fact have the body of blank, case number blank, and a full autopsy had been performed on November 21st, 2022. Okay. Now, what are the odds, guys? Okay, that they were able to literally, when they called, they're like, oh, hey, God, you're just in luck. We just did his autopsy and we just have this stuff just waiting for you, right? Well, we have it ready and waiting for you because we called you, motherfuckers. We've been waiting for you guys. We've called you, right? We've called you. Now, blank told me that he had contacted blank's mother. Okay. Blank who told me that blank had been sober for the last 4 years, but 2 weeks prior to his death, he had left the house November 8th, 2022, and did not return. He was found wandering the streets of Lewiston with cuts and abrasions on his torso and arms and transported to the hospital. I requested copies of autopsy photographs so we could see what injuries the anonymous medical staff person was calling the FBI about. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a big deal that somebody would realize that, hey, okay, dude, you know that stabbing that just happened? Like, this guy's all fucked up, you know? Well, Gary's like, I requested copies of the autopsy photos so we could see what injuries the anonymous medical staff person was calling about. Blank requested that I send his office the request in writing, which he did. I received the requested photographs via email from the medical examiner's office. I transferred the photographs to a compact disc and entered them into evidence with the Moscow Police Department. I also received a phone call from the medical examiner's office staff asking if I needed anything further. I requested they do DNA swabs. They told me that they would, but an ISP detective would have to take possession of the swabs once they're done. You guys, boom, where's his phone? Where's his phone? This would be so easy. Where's this dude's phone? Where's his car that was abandoned in the field? Because by my calculations, there's an abandoned Mercedes in a baseball field, okay, on November 15th. Nobody cares to ask any more questions. Like, just get the man's cell phone or figure out what his phone number was, right? Did he have a cell phone? Put him for the geofence and just be done with it, right? Where's, like, wouldn't you be, like, reporting that and put that, you know? It's just basically somebody else did that. And who did it? I'm guessing the FBI, right? Right. So moving on to now, okay. Okay. I want to show you guys that this is all a fucking lie. The October 2021 burglary that happened on WSU's campus, the mother of the daughter that happened to, where she kicked the guy and he was a little short Mexican guy, basically, or she thought it was like the guy that lived upstairs. Okay. Jose Cruz. The mom calls the Moscow Police Department. First, she calls both. She calls WSU and she calls Moscow Police Department to give them the tip about what had happened in October of 2021. All right. Now, when we did these FOIA requests, we can prove that Andy Huddle did a FOIA request, who's with Idaho State Police, and so did Moscow Police Department. They did separate ones. Moscow Police Department put one in on the 16th to get all the information about that incident. And then on the 17th, Andy Huddle put one in. Okay. And why this is important is because I want to show you guys how they lie. This is the report from William Adams on 11/21. He says that he wrote it up. He really wrote it up February 6th. Okay. He actually did the work on 11/21. So on November 21st, I, Detective Williams, okay, Idaho State Police, conducted surveillance at blank in Pullman, Washington. So he's in Pullman, Washington, and this is to get the cigarettes, okay? Because before they could even, they're going there to get Jose Cruz's cigarette shit. Well, Jose Cruz is Mexican, and his buddies, they all work at a couple of these Mexican restaurants over there. Well, guess where Cole Brennan, or Brennenberger, guess where he worked as a manager? He worked at one of these Mexican chains, like a El Vaquero, La Fiesta, like a place like that. I shit you not. Go fucking check it out. Anyways, they took 2 cigarette butts from this guy, right? Again, the thing that's interesting are the dates, though. And when they say that they're just acting like these were just tip-ins, okay? They referred to the tip number was tip 391 and tip 73. The person identifying the tip was this person. Fuck your tips. Okay, this was also told by Chris Engel on the 17th. Now, why this matters is because they want you to believe that they did it off of these tips and that this is the first of this on November 21st. This is not. The first of this started on the 16th by Moscow Police Department and the 17th by the Idaho State Police. 16th and 17th. Okay. This is just them going and getting Cruz's DNA. Okay. I went back and checked, and we believe that Cruz drove a red Tundra. It was a truck from the pictures that we have from that ordeal that happened in October, because he was like the apartment that was up top. Now, you guys are going to... You guys aren't going to believe this, though. Do you guys recall what street that happened on? Let me just pull this up. Can't make it up. It happened on that, I call it like Kamikaze, but it's not. What's that K street in Pullman? Oh. Anyways, I'll come back to that. Hang tight. I want to print off something else. But there's more. All right. So they then, after they get Cruz's name, okay, out of the blue, out of the fucking, yeah, there it is. I call it Kamikaze. You like that? Out of the blue, right? Idaho State Police have like 7 to 10 addresses in Eastern Washington, Colfax, all the Rosalia, where else? Pullman. They are hunting down, because what they are looking for is they are looking for people that are in Cole's orbit, and or Jose Cruz's orbit, but they are trying to hunt down a white Elantra. A white Elantra. And I said, what's the date on this? I'll tell you. Because I'm just going to give you the report. Here it is. This is why Cody Herman was on the witness list for Ann Taylor, because he hid this. Cody Herman writes up a 17-page report. 17 pages. Because he just wrote down everything that he did. And we get to vehicle canvassing down here. On 11/27/2022, Idaho State Police Detective William Adams and Cody Herman canvassed multiple addresses for Hyundai Elantras. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean you're just picking out random addresses? Listen to what they did. A, on 11, that's a date. B, blank address in Albanon, Washington. 2 of them. Colfax. They had 3 of them there. 3, Elantra bearing Washington this plate at residence along with Washington plate this and Idaho plate. There's 3 at this address right here on the F1. Then St. John, Washington, unable to locate address. Like what? See, they had specific addresses that he was told to go to. Specific. This is Bethany Funk was on her way to Rosalia when she smashed her fucking RAV. I couldn't even believe this. Okay. Oakdale. Palouse. And like, there's like, so Ann Taylor basically wants to ask this guy, why were you doing this? Like, these clearly have no association with Brian Koberger, right? Because this is where I'm going to bring this all back here to a complete 360. Okay. Back to the whole beginning, which is Indian Hills. Okay. Why are you looking in Eastern Washington for white Hyundai Elantras at specific addresses? Okay. Because you have to like dig through all of this mumble jumble shit. Okay. To try to get to see like the truth of what the fuck is going on. Four, 64, 17, 14, 13, 15. Okay. So that was on 11/27. Okay. That they're looking, that Cody has specific addresses trying to hunt down these Elantras, right? Okay. Now, bring us back to the night of the murder. Okay. Who were your original suspects? Well, Jack Showalter and Cole Barenberg, and then Mason Barstow, and potentially another person, Mason, whatever. Anyways, they are following Cole's steps, right? Cole and Jack Showalter's steps. They're also trying to follow in these people's orbits. Like, who are they connected to? Whose car could this be? Well, one person you have to add to the equation now is Eric Grower. 1000% Eric Grower. He's in there. No doubt about it. Why? Because I just showed you guys why. They went over to his place on 11/19/2022 after Dylan's interview, after Bethany's interview, after his own interview on the 14th, and after interviewing other people, and they're straight up saying that he was he was 1,000% back in that King area between. Mm, he also said that he didn't leave right away from their house to go to his next run, which was at 2:13. But it was well beyond 3 o'clock in the morning. So where does Molly fall into all of this, right? Well, here we're tracking down Cole. You have it at 11:25 right there at Ridge. So whose vehicle did they think that was? Well, listen, ready? Why would you need to go any further? Okay, so they get Ridge Road camera footage on 11 between 11:19 and 11:23. Those dates, 11:19 and 11:23. Why the fuck are you looking for white Elantras on 11:27 out in East Washington? Why? And then on December 28th, why are you doing surveillance of 2 mini storage places in the same area, Colfax? Why? What are you doing? What in the world is going on, right? There's only, like, I think 3 possibilities. The first possibility is that not everybody is in the know on how the whole setup is going to be working here. Option B, nobody's communicating what the fuck soever. Okay, nobody's communicating what the fuck soever. I mean, at all, Which I think that's why Ann Taylor was trying to get them to cough up how many times they were meeting, and how could, like, basically to rule that out, that you're not, not on the same page when you're meeting in the morning and then at night. Now, Janine Ayers, who works the lab, wrote Jeffrey Talbot and said, "Do you have the perpetrator's house locked down?" Like on November 16th. What? There's a text message from Janine Ayers to Jeffrey Talbot on November 16th saying, "Do you have the suspect's house locked down?" This is November 16th. Do you have the suspect's house locked down? What? November 16th. Okay. Okay. Now, go back to Indian Hills. You can't use, if you're going to use somebody like, well, for example, what does Michael Sotolongo drive and what does Charlotte drive? And what do the neighbors, what does CF drive? What does BB drive? What do these people drive? And how in the world did Vargas know to go to CF and say, "Hey, can I look at your Nest camera at 325? How in the fuck would you ever, you have the car at Ridge Road, right? Okay, why do you need it anywhere else? Who cares? Who cares? Like, why was that phone call necessary? You have the vehicle, and you had it on 11, between 11, you had it on 11:19, you had it to 11:23 at the latest, but why, how did you know that you needed to go, you know what? We're we can. How did you know that there would be a vehicle, poof, right there in the middle of the street, just waiting for you, that you would know to go and call up this CF woman, when you probably should have been calling somebody like Michael Sotolongo in Charlotte off the rip. But you couldn't. You felt like you couldn't call them first. Or did you truly call them first, and did you truly know about them first, but you needed to come in and bring somebody else into the equation because you really didn't want to use them because it would link to something else? Basically, this car links to a completely different person. And the cops know that it links to a completely different person. And it links, when I say links to them, it like they're tracking their movement. And then you have to throw in the whole cops giving somebody a ride home. And then you have to throw in the whole cops coming out of the what do you call it? The car that's the undercover car coming out of where the police station is. When they go right, and that's the way that you would have to go, is to go right and go around there. And then you just have to throw in the fact that there's two vehicles. No doubt about it, because after you take Payne and Blaker and you use the timestamp of how long it would take for them to drive what they say happened, it's not attainable. But why not just go with the 401 Ridge Road car? Why not just go with the 329 or 326, Ridge Road, showing the car coming on Lauder to go at 326, 327, whatever time that is. Why do you need it to be over? And why are you adding in the Indian Hills camera? Use the comment section of the video. Tell me what you guys think as to why in the world you in the Moscow Police Department ever knew that they could just call up this person and if they knew that there'd be a car right there at 325. They didn't need to. They have the Ridge Road camera. Somebody was yappy. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much, moderators, members, subscribers. Danny Anderson, thank you so much. Jamie Lang, Christine, 11111. Molly, how's your kids doing? Do you get your kids back there with that good old guardianship, that conservatoryship? Good old CF hook you up. Molly's just got all the best friends in the world. Bill Thompson, she's got CF, but you couldn't put CF on the docket here, so they go ahead and put BB down. Tiff, they also couldn't use CF or BB, and they go ahead and did they use, or could they not use Longo and Charlotte? There's a lot more. Lottie Dot, Bay Watson, All Things Human and Beyond. All Things Human and Beyond. All Things Human and Beyond. Look at that. Back to back to back to backer. Twine and Toucans. Gladiator 1983. Nicole, thank you so much. Brittany, Planet H2O. I wish I was the smartest person in the world. We have a baby. Fuck yeah, we do. All Things Human and Beyond. Gee Whiz for Foyas. Yep. We got to pay a bundle here. Vonda, what is good, Vonda? Thank you so much. Sass and Turkeys. I can't wait for my turkey. Thanksgiving's coming up, guys. I looked up the Liston guy's obituary. He shouldn't have had arm injuries. The funeral is streamed. 3 AK members are sitting in the back. I grew up near AK in Idaho. Maybe a connection or not. Thank you for that. RC for autopsy report on it. We're gonna try a different route. We think we might have something, but I think there's more with this route on these addresses. What are you looking for these specific addresses in Washington? Lottie dot. I just think of Lottie Dottie, we likes the party. When I see that, oh, I have a whole live ready waiting for Grower. I just want to play the video though first, his interview, and then we'll get to Grower. Don't worry about that. Also, I want to see if we can get some people took a lot of things down lately. I've noticed, and thank God, like we saved it all. And immediately, the people that were interviewing, Idaho State Police did not have any. They basically said that they didn't do anything other than go into the home. They didn't start interviewing anybody until the Idaho State Police until the 16th, November 16th. On paper, that's what they're saying. You guys, this happened on November 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. Like, what were they doing the 14th and 15th? And what they're claiming is that on the 14th and 15th, that they just had their people doing the crime, the crime scene stuff, and that they started interviewing people, and they were working in their teams. Like, okay, they had Boise because everybody traveled to leave to go. Anybody that lived in Boise, they had a team, and they were interviewing those people. And then there was a team, like that's what the districts are all about. I have yet to come across an interview with the girl that claims that she's the other half of Cole's roommate. I just want to hear from this chick. So there is no report that I can find that the girl was interviewed. Also, where's the report from Danny Vargas or Bill Thompson or anybody on when they would have talked with? You don't just have people on your witness list and not talk to them. Where's Michael Sotolongo's? Which one's his? Did I get it right? Because this all links. All these people work at the same place. So just like I told you that Noah Rice kid, that he was in town, he was texting his buddy that he was, hey, thanks for coming down that weekend. Yeah. You guys, people hang out all over there, driving at all god hours, morning, noon, night. Who's the guy that got in his car and drove off to the airport, called the police and said, hey, I just want to let you guys know that I was doing that. Who do these people think that they are, that they're redacting these witnesses' names? Who has to put in 37 hours to just literally figure out like who these interviews belong to? Like, that's half the fucking battle. Like, that's probably 90% of my battle is I have interviews and I have to put a name to it. And so these names are, hey, I know that they're in this sorority. I know that they're in that sorority. Then I can start eliminating based on, okay, they had a boyfriend and that boyfriend was in this. It shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't have to do that. I'm over, just like all of you guys, we're over here to check on and to make sure the government's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It shouldn't be like this for us to double check and make sure that the government's, on the up and up. And that includes the defense team. That includes the defense. Anybody that got paid from our money, the state paid out Anne and the prosecution, the police officers, and all the overtime. Okay, if this case, why wasn't there a plea deal day one? Why would this be drug out? We have questions, and this is not giving us those answers. And then, so that's what the 37 hours that I spent over the past 3 days doing, was to be as responsible as possible if I was going to put out this information. And yeah, I think it's very interesting that the people that are on that witness list are really close friends with the criminals, and they have this surveillance camera. Also, they were all at a wedding together. Xana was there. The Sotolongo and Charlotte, they were at the same wedding. Who else? Ethan has an apartment. Where is it located? It's right over there. It's right over by where that Cole kid lives. And then there's, I want to know what Luke Hyde has to do with this. He's a football player. He's now a coach. He lived literally right across the street from the 1125 camera. There's just a lot. So, but the FBI has all the main interviews, and that means Anne didn't know Dick for the longest time, because they hid everything. Anything that made this case, they hid. So I just don't think it should be like that. I don't think that that's how you should prosecute cases, and I don't think that's how you should have to be, that you should have to defend yourself. So, all right, guys, take care to the next one. Peace.